Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of days ago, it was my wonderful girlfriend Lucy's birthday. So naturally, the only way to celebrate that was to stream live on Twitch after we had dinner and a lot of red wine. And so we were just going to play some Blitz, have fun, talk to the chat, listen to music when I discovered that I got paired against the Grandmaster. My opponent was Jose Rafael Gascon del Nogal from Venezuela. He's the highest rated player in Venezuela. He also has a YouTube channel. So for my Spanish speaking audience, I encourage you to check out his channel. Now in this video, I am going to show you 3 of the games in that match that fully have me convinced that I should play every chess game for the rest of my life drunk. Here we go. So full disclosure, I actually lost the first game of our match. This is game number 2. I just played him in a game where I got checkmated and he had like 0.8 on the clock. Those are like the worst games. So I decided, all right, we got to focus. C4. Now he plays E5, and here I play my kind of pet line, trick line for Blitz, knight to F3. The 2 main lines here are G3 in the English, in the reverse Sicilian, and also knight C3. Knight C3 is a move that fights for the center, fights against this move D5, and a very flexible move. You're either going to play G3 or play the knight to F3, and play potentially what's known as a 4 knights variation of the English. But I play knight F3, and this move induces E4. But not a lot of people play this. A lot of people just play knight C6, and this allows me to play a quick D4 without having a knight on C3. It's just a different way of playing. Pawn takes, knight takes, bishop b4. I offer him a trade of bishops. He obliges, and then he plays knight f6. At this point, I say, all right, enough dilly-dallying. Let's take this knight. And now pawn takes on c6. The reason I make this trade is he has a slightly compromised pawn structure. Very calmly develop my knight to the center of the board. He castles, and I play e3. I mean, I also could play the move g3, but this move is a little bit slow, trying to play bishop here, and it actually allows black to kind of very quickly start attacking me, and I don't really like that, so I would have to play here, and now he can play d5, and essentially he's just getting out in front of me. Like, I can't develop so easily here. I gotta kind of deal with his threats, which is why I like to play e3 in this version. d6, I develop my bishop, he moves his rook, and just so I never have to worry about anything over here, I play the move pawn to b3. Now, white is a little bit better, and this is actually just why I like this opening so much, because very few people play like the ultra-critical way for black, and we just got a position where white is ever so slightly better. So for example, c5, I see that he wants to put his bishop over here, so I put my bishop out on the diagonal first, bishop d7. Now here, any reasonable and sane person plays the move short castles, rook to d1, rook e1, and maybe pushes in the center. And white just maintains a comfortable edge due to pawn structure. That is really all it comes down to. Black has a little bit of a clump. Maybe I'll play e4. My bishop is very strong. My knight is very good. Everything is very good. I'm a little bit more active. My pawn structure is better. There you go. Also, I'm an international master, right? I'm not a grandmaster. I don't have the baggage, emotional baggage of life on my shoulders. So there are advantages to being an international master. But I said any normal person, right? We're talking about me. So first of all, we're talking about me. I'm sober now, but I wasn't sober when I was playing the game. And I played the move h4. Now, let me be very clear. This doesn't lose by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a completely idiotic move. This move would make some sense if, like, for example, after, like, if I could guarantee the move h5. Like, this is completely unnecessary, and now there's a target here, right? But I decided to play h4, and then even h5, like, just might as well, right? Now, my opponent here correctly plays h6, because if you play something like g6, this completely justifies my opening of the h-file. It's a horrible move. If you don't play h6, like, for example, I don't know, you play here, there's a very high chance I will play this move myself. And we've seen, like, AlphaZero, all these computers do this a lot. You know, if gh6, you just damage your structure, and if you don't take, well, then my pawn locks in your king forever. You'll have back rank liabilities. Also, in all endgames, this h7 pawn could be a little bit of a problem, because if I take it, I just promote, right? So, opponent plays h6. Now I'm like, all right, let's go back to playing normal. And then here I'm like, actually, let's not go back to playing normal. Let's play the move rook to h4. Now, my opponent, by the way, at this point has just basically realized that I'm a drunk idiot, and he's actually completely correct. And he's playing down the queen side with the rook and his flank pawn. Very commonly, if you have a loner pawn, you should just go kind of like get rid of it. All right, you just trade it like for one of the pawns. Or what will often happen is moves like a4 will get played, and this move actually did literally get played. I moved my king off the e-file, and then he went here. And like what you do is you just give the pawn up because now it splits my pawns. It's a very common maneuver. If I took with the knight, he would probably go take, and now my pawns just suck. They're just terrible, right? So And then that allows rook b4. But the thing about rook b4 is that it kind of doesn't threaten anything, because if he plays bishop takes a4, I just take, and then here I have, you know, el tenedor, or isn't it doblas? I don't know. Double attack. So that's not any good. So he goes bishop e6, because he's going for this pawn. And I'm like, all right, that's not complicated. I just protected. I'm drunk, but I know how to defend stuff. And here he plays a move that I thought was very strong during the game, but allowed me to actually get a little bit more creative. So knight d7 goes for e5, and it's called a reroute. You drop a piece back to kind of move it forward again and activate it better. Yeah, this move is hard to prevent, but it takes the eye off d5, so I jump in immediately. Now he's forced to take. It was a fork, and now I activate this. Now the knight still obviously arriving on e5 is very strong. I bring my queen over here, and then this is where I start playing inspired chess. I'm like, wait a minute. I brought my queen forward, and now the queen's got backup. When the queen's got backup, the queen can do anything. So queen h7's a big threat. You gotta play this move. Only move. Well, now that justifies my whole h-file attack. Now I open up the h-file. I'm so smart. You know what was the winning move of this game? h4. Move 13. The game was won right here, even though that's the lowest advantage we had in the entire opening. Doesn't really matter. We won this game on willpower. Also, we don't actually know if we won this game because I haven't actually recorded this for. King g7. At this point, I played queen g3, and I was very happy to see the move g5. Because the thing is, if your opponent is pushing the only line of defense to the king, like if these pawns just disappeared, it's game over. Like we have the rook, we have the queen, like it's game over, right? So I was like, okay, well, that's not actually a threat to my rook. So let me play a random move. I'm going to play rook f5. Actually, I thought I played king g1 in this position. I'm not going to lie. Okay, well, it turns out I played rook f5, and then 2 moves later, I played king g1. Okay, doesn't really matter. The whole point is that now that this pawn is there, we need to turn it into a target. My bishop is a sniper, right, on b1, always covering. So what are we going to do here? How are we going to create some sort of attack? Well, first of all, we have to address our opponent's threats, right? But what do we do now? This is a problem. Now here, I start playing like, you know, like my shoulders are gonna break because my brain is so fat. It's just so. Is it even good to have a fat brain? Probably not, right? Isn't it like a condition? Okay, anyway, I'm not gonna edit this out. We're just gonna keep rolling with the punches here. I have a giga brain. F4. Rook takes f5, bishop f5, knight c4, and here, after rook e1 d5, I had a brain blast. I thought I was so genius here. I played this move. And you know what my logic was? If it doesn't take me, I'm just gonna go. Because the thing is, like in the middle of this game, we got queen, keeping the tension. It's a very important lesson in chess. Keeping the tension. If you don't need to take, don't do it. Keep the tension, because oftentimes the threat existing just in the position is more powerful than actually making the move that is the threat. If my opponent doesn't take, I'm gonna wander down here and then take on g5, because the queen will lose sight of this pawn. Now with this, here I just thought I was like a brilliant man. e4, look at this move. Folks, do you know what the idea of the move e4 is? It's this. To rotate my queen and hit that loose knight and the king. I was like, oh my good, and then my opponent did this. I was like, oh. But actually, this whole idea still wins according to the computer, so I'm clearly a genius. I mean, all right. So I play pawn takes g5. Now if you take with the queen, I'm just getting in. So again, I saw a way to destroy everything, and I was very happy. But opponent took with this pawn. I was like, you know what? I don't know what to do. I'm gonna just push my pawn. And the second my opponent went here, you think your bishop was hanging, right? You gotta move your bishop. No. Queen h3. This is the way to go right now. Queen to h3. The only way for black to play this is to play rook to h4. Try to go back, then I would tickle, try to play e6. But, opponent goes here, and at this point resigns. Even though queen h7 won on the spot after here, here, and e6, with the idea that after queen f5, queen g7, most of those squares are queen d7 mate. But I didn't see that it was a blitz game. Doesn't matter. We're going to forget about that. Now, okay, this was the first. Now it's an even match. Then we drew the next game. It was 1.5, 1.5. You bored yet? Don't be bored. Some of the most insane attacking chess you've ever seen in your life is coming up. I'm talking to you right now. You know, watch the rest of this video. Then you're going to go on about your day and do great things. You're going to complete that task. You're going to overcome that challenge. Okay? Listen to me. Click back into the video from that tab that you have me on while you do some other stuff. Listen to me. You're going to have a great day afternoon or evening today after you watch this video. You're great. All right, here we go. Now, here's another game. This is like 2 games in the future. I'm on a roll now, all right? I lost the first game I won. We made a draw now. I've won like 2 straight, all right? E4. I always like to mix it up. I like to play E4, D4, C4, whatever. Listen, life's too short to only play one opening. Until you're like 1500, focus on that one opening and get good at it. So I like to play the Vienna. Link is in the description to my E4 course. Vienna Gambit. Here, 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 Queen F3. All right, so far so good. The idea of this is to attack the knight, force it to, well, ideally it takes, and then you build up a big center, here, 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 checkmate. Easier said than done. Opponent plays knight to c6. This is a main line, one of the most challenging options, hits my pawn. I go here, main line. At this point after takes, there's really one way for black to equalize, as far as I know, and it's to go queen h4 check and then trade queens. But that's an extra virgin olive oil way to play this position. And, you know, my opponent plays bishop e7, just developing. I go here, and I try to castle long. So, when you are castled on opposite sides, it's going to be a violent game. All right, it's going to be a violent game. I don't know how else to... Well, unless you're like 500s, then it's going to be a violent game no matter what. They basically need helmets to play chess. Ramming helmets into everything. So, bishop 2 e6, knight e2. Our development is finished. Now, what do? Black plays the move f6. f6 looks very smart because your idea is to take and just open this up. And if I take, well, then you're super happy because I've just activated your bishop, I've activated your rook, you have a nice position here. So here, I need to remove some of the pressure from the position that black is putting on the board, right? That was a very convoluted sentence. Black has pressure on the center. So what do? I make this trade. Not all trades are the same. The reason I made that trade is that now I win more control of the center. So I play the move knight to d4, which hits both pieces. If the bishop backs up e6, black dies. The game is over. We just smash. So black needs to play queen d7. Now, folks, if in this position you think this trade is also good, you need therapy. All right, call the local therapist, talk to them about your addiction to trading pieces. All right, no. There's a difference in how you trade pieces. We are going to wait with this knight to pressure everything. And if the move c5 is ever played, this pawn loses a guard, so we would take the bishop and then take. The best move here, and the only move for white, try to find it, it's a strategic move, it's not a tactical move to keep the advantage, is this. This is the only way. Here's the idea. If this trade happens now white is almost completely winning, like it's very close, because mate is threatened, the bishop is threatened, this is threatened, this is threatened, and when the rooks join the party, it's going to be really bad news for black. So my opponent decided to play f5 and close it up. Now here I targeted immediately this, because when that all opens up, it's going to be bad. Pawn takes, just loses to this. Do I have something even better? No, knight f5. Hits the queen, mate is threatened, and we win the game. So opponent plays bishop c5. Now here, if I was a computer, what I would have done is brought my knight back to attack the bishop and then played c5. But that's actually, no. I would have played c5 if the bishop had gone this way. If here, then apparently I just play h4. And the computer is not afraid of queenside counterplay because it's a computer and it should shut up and get away from my video. So how about that? Instead of that, I just played h4 because, you know, you got to play h4. Like, what are you doing? You're playing chess. You're not playing h4. You're missing out. So when the position... Now you see black is quick with the counterplay. So trade and boom. Again, we see this pawn being lodged and then this. Now, I would love to continue my attack here, h5. Just belligerent. But the thing is, folks, it's all about realizing what your opponent wants. My opponent wants to take this pawn, so I got to play this move. I mean, I know I'm pushing pawns in front of my king, but it's okay. And then when the opponent does this, clearly wants a4. Okay, and if I allow that, I'm gonna get slapped. So I gotta play a4 myself. Now at this point, the first thing that went through my mind was, you know, if I continue my attack, is a sacrifice like this possible? The answer to the question is hell no, but I was a little bit scared, so I just decided to preemptively move my king out of trouble, to go give the other pieces a friendly hug. Now this position is very closed. If you look at this position optically, there's only... Well, I don't know how else you would look at a position except optically. Is optically even a word? I always say that. I don't even... Anyway, the breaks are right here. But if you play that move, then b3 is really weak, right? So you got to be careful. And then obviously the h-file. And beyond that, it's tough. It's going to be a maneuvering game. So what I did is, as my opponent ran his king away too, is I played this, trying to tickle over here. And I get a little structural change. Now that the dark squares are up for grabs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my bishop in to f6. That's what I want. Notice my opponent also trying to get a little pawn play. But now the rook is kind of cut off from the world. So I've got g4 ideas, and I want to play rook h4 and take this pawn. Okay? So king f7, and I do exactly that. And here, he plays c6, and I win my pawn. Now, the engine here gives the move rook takes f6, just taking my bishop. And after pawn takes f6, g5, attacking my rook, apparently. And then this. And this is, again, why the computer needs to lay off and mind its business. Okay? So c6 was played. Now, you see how we managed to create an attack by opening up the dark squared possibilities, right? This is a bit of a target, but the game here was actually pretty tricky because if I play e6, look at this. e6 looks like it wins because queen e6, queen b8, right? Oh my god, free rook. Except you leave behind a rook and a bishop. What are you doing? So this actually doesn't work. It just doesn't work at all. So I was like, all right, well, I gotta go rook f3. The opponent goes here. That's a terrifying move. You see, if I now take this, then after rook takes b3, like, it looks very scary. This position looks terrifying. It's not, but it looks really scary. So what I did is I decided not to do that. I decided to play e6 check, queen e6, and now, rather than take, which loses the game, to queen e2, which is why you always need to look to see how they can put you in danger, in between move. Zwischenzug. This is not going anywhere. And you know who else is not going anywhere? The queen, who is absolutely going somewhere after the move rook to e3. Now the queen is threatened. Queen b8 is threatened. And if the queen goes all the way back here, well, then we just continue chugging away over here. Maybe rook e7, king f6, something like this. Hunt the king down. If not, then just g4. g4, just keep going. If king f6, that's very brave. We take the bishop. It's very brave. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm saying it's brave. It's brave. It's not smart. It's brave. So queen d7. And we convert by winning the queen. Take, take. And now, after rook to e8, we go here. Because after this, we have g4. And black resigns. The thing is, if we don't have g4 in this position, like let's just say we go like here to try to win c5, we will probably still win this game by virtue of the fact that black's structure is awful and the h7 pawn is a liability in all endgames. I have to check my phone because Lucy just sent me a message saying that she just made lamb for dinner and apparently I'm not ready for how good it tastes. Aren't you glad you clicked on this video? You're getting so many intels about my life. Now, folks, if you watched until this point, you are about to witness my ascent. This game that I'm about to show you is just, I'm so proud of it. And I will show you my reaction afterward, just how happy I was. I was so happy. Be happy that you watched this far, because I'm telling you right now, just watch this game, okay? I retired from playing this match after this game. So we play a g6, bishop g7. Gotta rock all the Gotham courses, okay? I rocked the e4 course, rocking the g6, bishop g7 course. And here, what I like to play, there's a lot of lines here. This is a very strong line against the modern. I like to play knight c6 and try to play for a quick e5. This is a pretty offbeat way to play. And there's other ways to play. You can play like a hippo with e6, but okay, knight c6. And try to play e5, bishop g4, etc. Now d5 is not scary. You just go here. Now this bishop is stupid. So h3, I play e5. Opponent goes to pin me. Bishop d7. d5, and we trade bishops. Now, in King's Indian structures, and this opening will very much resemble a King's Indian defense, I want to play h6 and f5. That is how you create an attack. The reason you play h6 is because if, for example, after this you play f5, now you get strategically slapped with the move knight g5, knight e6, at which point you can resign, sell your house, sell your car, sell all your belongings, and just go. Just go somewhere, okay? So you need to play h6 first, and then, you know, knight c3, and now f5, castles, and I castle as well. Okay, so what is going on in this game, and what are the various plans associated for both players? Well, Opponent wants to play b4, knight b3, c5, and destroy me over here. I would like to play boop, 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 and get to the king. Oftentimes, it's associated with some maneuvering, and that's the way all King's Indians go. Now, normally a King's Indian attack that black plays, or a King's Indian defense, I'm just saying an attack in the King's Indian, needs a light squared bishop. It just needs it. It's like a beacon of hope from a distance. But here's a King's Indian attack or defense played without any light squared bishops. So what do? First of all, shut it down. Shut it down with knight h5. So all the dark squares are up for grabs. f4 is coming, right? c5. And so what I did here is I played this move b6. And my idea with this move was to induce the move c6. I thought I was super duper genius. It turns out I'm an idiot and the computer hates it. But during the game, I felt like a genius. Because now I'm like, where's his attack? I mean, you know, you can put a knight on b5 and then I'm going to kick you out. I don't really understand. So he plays a4 and I play a6, obviously, because I don't want him to go knight b5. And I'm like, well, that's great. You can keep putting your horses over here. I don't see it. I'm going to play king h7. And it's always a useful move because you never know when you're going to open up the g file. He plays bishop e3. I go attack his rook. Rook e1. And now I'm like, well, I want to activate my bishop, potentially in the future. And just roll him with the pawns. Because I don't see anything. I don't see anything over here. I mean, at this point, the engine is trying to say that you should do this and shove your knight down my throat. And let me tell you something. I didn't see that, and neither did he, because that's a computer idea. The point is that you're trying to come in here, and this is just not good for black. This is not good. I didn't see it. He didn't see it. That's the beauty of the game. That's why you play the game. He goes here. I defend my knight, and now he makes a terrible decision. This is not a good decision at all, although admittedly it does look like he stops my attack. The problem is you needed this bishop to target my queen side. See, and he has to target my queen side, so he needs the long-range piece. Because now if he plays the same idea with a5, I go here, he can't play knight b6. Once his forces are repelled on the queen side, I'm just going to crush him on the king side. That's just the way the King's Indian works, right? So he takes, and then here, he starts fighting back on the king side. And this is where I was like, what? I don't understand that move. And then it became clear to me, he wants me to take to damage my pawns so that they get stuck one after the other. Now I have two sets of doubled pawns, and he can go here. And I was like, okay, so if I don't take that, like I go like here, he's going to go e6 or even take, and like this is terrible. So I have to take, and I have to let his knight in. But what do I do now? What is my plan of action? And from this point forward, I legitimately played like a genius. That's not an exaggeration. Be ready. I played queen d6. Why? Well, the knight that he just put there wants to go here. And if I can't activate my queen, I'm going to lose this game. So I played queen to d6 because that's the only way to get my queen out with the incoming idea of knight to d7. He plays it. I slide my rook over to make sure that the knight is always protected. He attacks my queen. This is not complicated. I have one move that doesn't lose the queen. It's complicated for the viewer games, not for me, right? Play queen b4. Don't even need to think about it. Now, at this point, I've got a couple of things in mind. Is he ever going to play knight f6? Is he going to sack his pawn, so promoting this one? How is he going to bring his queen and rook to the party? So he goes queen e2. And here I uncorked one of the nastiest combinations of my life. I'm not even joking. It's actually inspired me to make this video. I know I've been theatrical throughout, but this was crazy. I saw through everything here to a situation where this king ends up on this square and my queen ends up on mate. Pawn, queen, king. How? How are we going to get that? Like, the king is always going to go here. This pawn is in the way. f3. f3 will open up this. So my queen can always hit the king and slide into f2 with an unstoppable mate on h2 and promotion. That's the idea, f3. But you say, but the queen can take. Yes. But the queen is busy protecting the rook. And you know who else is busy protecting the rook? The pawn. So I can get rid of the pawn by playing knight takes d5. But I cannot get rid of the queen by playing knight takes d5. So then I put it all together. Pawn to f3. He took with the pawn. I took on d5. And what I had calculated here was that if he were to take my rook, I would play the move knight to f4, in between move. I wouldn't take, I would attack his queen. Now at this point, if his queen stays guarding my rook, or if his queen stays guarding his rook with a move like queen e3, I can win this game in a couple of ways. One, I can win his queen. But two, like let's say he goes back to e1, I go check here, check here, and I promote a new queen. And then he loses his queen and he loses his rook. And on top of that, I have queen b2, detonating on everything. So when I played this idea, I was like, well, he's got to take my knight. And he did. And then I won the tempo on his king with the move queen d4 check. And here he could have went back, and that's exactly what he did. But if he had gone to h1, or let's say g2, then I would have played here, here, check, here, mate. Or check, here, mate. Or check there, bishop, mate. Because you gotta do the bad manners. So he took on d5. I did this. He played here. And I realized I can actually take the knight. Because if he goes here, then the same thing happens. It's the same thing. Check. It's the same thing. I'm down a full rook. He cannot move to those squares because that's mate with tempo. And then if this is just queen f2, he can't stop this. He can give me a check. I just take. I just take it. And if he goes here, like I don't know what this move does, I just take it. So in the game he played rook e3. I took. He went here. And I invented danger levels, ladies and gentlemen. My queen's hanging. What's worth as much as a queen? Gotham subscribers. Rook takes e3 and also a queen. If he takes, then this, it's game over. If he takes this, it's game over. So rook takes e3 and he resigned. And that is how drunk chess should be played. Okay, let's take a look. Oh my god, it worked. It always was working. I didn't play it the right way. I took the wrong thing. Oh my god, this was always working? Knight d5. Queen d4, yeah. Wait, you, oh my god! Oh my god, and you have to go here! Because white's options are to take with the queen and remove the support of the rook, or to take with the pawn and always allow g2 and queen f2. And this is always winning! Because this whole idea just winning? Knight d5? Oh my god, I had to play f3. I knew it because the options were that the queen stops defending the rook and all the tactics, or this and this clears out. Holy shit.